Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hello, it is Mike. It is a daily podcast once again because it's yet another day. And here it is, Mike's Daily Podcast. It's episode 2274. What a day, what a Wednesday. I hope you had a good day. And I hope it was cool of you to enjoy me and say Mike Matthews has a great podcast. And he's been doing it for a long time, and he talks about stuff that helps me in my mind. And this is what I learned today, is when you notice things. Mike's Daily Podcast. Life is too short not to notice things. I noticed a bunch of things today, and I tried to fix them. Daily. And that didn't work. Podcast. Or maybe it did, we'll see. Yeah! But here we are in the middle of the week. Or I don't know when you're listening to this podcast. It could be days, years from now. And maybe it's a completely different time. But here at Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth, we try and enjoy every day as best we can. Try and make the most of the moment in the places that we are. Perhaps in your bedroom, you would like to put in there a wall bed. What are you talking about? What do they call those? A Murphy bed? A wall bed. Wall bed sales are a big part of, it's a big trend now. As the name implies, wall beds fold up flush to the wall when not in use. Yes, apparently COVID-related increases in categories such as wall beds and office furniture. Instead of spending money on vacations, people are using that money on their homes. And we had that big drop in the stock market yesterday. It kind of shot back up again today. But yeah, everybody was like, wait a minute, maybe we can't travel. Maybe that COVID variant thing, that's going to keep us. And I actually heard today in a meeting with other people that are like manager types that possibly we have to go back to wearing masks again. What? No.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And you're hearing that all over the place. And look at that. Mike Matthews just talked about it. What's that about? But what I'm saying is that I went on a nice hike on Sunday, and I did not wear a mask because I was hiking. I was in the great outdoors in Podcastro Valley. And I was over off a Willow Trail, and I'll post a podcast picture from that wonderful walk at mikesdailypodcast.com. I did not get any responses to the podcast picture yesterday, though it must not have had a single effect on anybody else. But for me, when I see the picture, it makes me cry because it makes me think of this guy right here, Basil the Boxer. Yes. You can see that picture too at mikesdailypodcast.com for episode 2273. So wall beds. Basil never got to stand on a wall bed. Or sit on one. Or, he was such a good dog. He would never get on the bed. He was so good about that. In fact, one time I was feeling really sick and I wanted him to be on the bed with me just to comfort me, and he wouldn't get up there. Great dog. Wall beds have the ability now, so many wall beds now come combined with desks, shelves, and storage units. So it's a whole bunch of stuff combined. Very IKEA-ish. Wall beds have the ability to transition a room pretty easily from a sleeping space to a functional place, whether an office, an exercise room, a child's play space, or crafting room. Today's wall beds are safer and easier to operate than older models. They use hydraulic pistons that counterbalance the weight of the mattress and the mattress frame and take less than a minute to raise and lower. So, none of that possibility of you getting trapped inside. Hey, I got an email today from a guy named John Cohill. He says, hey, I noticed you streamed and or downloaded the Umbrellas self-titled debut that I sent you via Promo Jukebox. The LP is out on August 6th on Slumberland Records, so I wanted to chime in here and see if you might have any plans on covering the record or the band. And I only bring that up because John Cohill has reached out to me via email, via the subject matter. In the subject line, it just says hi. and it says hi with a lowercase h, which always tells you do not open that email because it's somebody trying to fish for something. And so what did Mike do? He opened the stupid email. Oh well. But he's from Forcefield PR. And I have said to John many, 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 many times, sure, I'll cover your band. Sure. When do I get to interview the band? I would love to interview the band. And he never, ever, ever gets back to me. Ever. He once had the Fratellis, I think. The Fratellis got kind of popular in America. They were big in England. And so I said, sure, I'd love to interview the Fratellis. Nothing. Never heard back. So just wanted to chime in. That's the kind of emails Mike gets at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. And you can call me 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily is in what this podcast has been now for a couple of days. Yeah. Beyond beds, there are plenty of creative options to maximize your space for remote work. A lot of you are working from home. A lot of you are moving out of the big cities and the Bay Areas and getting over to your little places, your little nooks that you want to live in and go see a city. Done with you and your stupid traffic. Done with all of that. I'm going to live by my own terms. So, there are plenty of creative options to maximize your space for remote work, hobbies, guests. A small rolling cabinet or TV tray can serve as a portable desk. Not a very good one. I don't like ever putting a laptop on my lap. Even though it's called a laptop, I hate it on my lap because they're hot. Oh, Mike, you can get one of those pads that has a little fan in it that does not work. I had that. You put the fan gets powered by the USB port. Little USB thing you can push the little connector in and you get the fan go. No, it does not work, and it broke down within like a year. No. Where was it? Oh yeah, so yeah, portable desks, transforming a kitchen, dining room, or family room into a workstation. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley, Mont. If you're lucky enough to have a pantry, that's a really nice size, or a space underneath a set of stairs, these could always double as an office space. You could take over some of the pantry shelves for your laptop and office supplies. Under the steps, you can add lighting and shelves for a cozy space to work. Yeah, and in some houses, that might actually be cooler. If you don't have air conditioning, it might be a cool spot. And you can also expand outside with a shed, which can be converted into a studio, office, crafting room, or simply a private space to read. Just watch out for the spiders. Make sure you flea bomb that place, bug bomb it. First, your garage offers another option for expandable, flexible space. Garages are no longer just for storing vehicles and toys. They can also serve as workshops and casual gathering places. And I've seen that actually during the coronavirus. There was a lot of times there'd be a garage open and people sitting like in the garage and then their friends sitting maybe further out on the driveway so they could socially distance when we were all big into that before we all got vaccinated, right? But instead of an all-out, hard-to-undo conversion of a garage to indoor living space, consider finishing and sprucing up your garage to serve two purposes. A nice spot to park your vehicles, and I always loved that. When I first got a garage, it was like the first time getting a car. What, this car's mine? I could drive this? This is mine to drive around? Well, I'm borrowing it from you, Mom? That's awesome. When I got a garage, I was like, oh, you mean I don't have to park on the street and have my car broken into all the time? One time, I guess somebody broke in, slept in my car. Then I had a bunch of quarters in the ashtray. They took all of that. And then they tried to hotwire my car. And they pulled the steering wheel out slightly and tried to get at the wires, but they couldn't do it right. So they left it alone. That was nice. So yeah, if you have a garage, definitely use it. Don't fill it up with crap. If you do that, you do not understand the importance of a garage. And you should not have as much junk as you have. Easy for me to say, but really, it's if you're filling up your garage, if your car does not park in your garage it really is time to do the, what's her name, Maria Kondo thing. And sorry, it was Barbara Eden. I said Barbara Feldman, and I think I meant Barbara Feldon, who played 99 on Get Smart. 99, I've been waiting so long. Oh, 99, where did we go wrong? Oh, 99, I love you. Toto. One of their big songs before Africa and Hold the Line. And Rosanna. And Barbara Feldon, yes, was 99 on Get Smart, which I found out my lovely lady friend has never watched Get Smart, the TV series with Don Adams. Which you need to watch it just as, if you're into the whole, I got to check out 60s, 70s sitcoms. Because it was pretty interesting and groundbreaking and was huge. And watch the documentary on Don Adams, because he had an interesting life. He started out like, vaudeville and ended up being Smart. Maxwell Smart. And then later, Steve Carell, my lovely lady friend said, yeah, I saw the Steve Carell Anne Hathaway thing with Dwayne Johnson. Yes, okay. And it's, it wasn't, I got it wrong. It was Emily Blunt. That's what I went wrong. I tried to call her Emma. It's not Emma Blunt. It's Emily Blunt, I think. At any rate, Barbara Eden. Barbara Eden? Heck, I might have to do another podcast. I'm not looking it up. It's in my brain somewhere. It'll get shook loose at some point. So, Barbara... I gotta look it up. Dang it. I Dream of Jeannie cast. I have got to, because you know what? We got to pay homage to the other guy that was on that show. Let's see. I Dream of Jeannie cast was... Boy, it's taking me forever. Here we go. Bill Daly. Bill Daly is no longer... Barbara Eden is still alive. Oh, I am so sorry, Barbara Eden. Apparently she has not passed. I thought she did. Barbara Eden. Bill Daly, no longer with us. Bill Daly was on that show, would later be on the Bob Newhart show. He was the next door neighbor. He was hilarious. And there we go. Sorry about that, Barbara Eden. This podcast just got really awkward. Yeah, so don't clutter up your garage. And yes, you've heard it over and over again. Mike, it's a lot easier to say than do. And yes, I understand, but still, I so appreciate having the ability to park a car in a garage. Love it. That's not to say, too, if your garage is in your house, be smart and, be careful about, the fumes that come from your car. Make sure your garage has a window so you can get some of those fumes to air out. And I don't know. I don't build garages. That's all I got to say. It's good to have them vent out, have some kind of ventilation going on so you're not getting that carbon monoxide. Put drywall up and paint walls. Put down attractive garage flooring that can easily be cleaned. Install garage cabinets. Add nice lighting. Your next party space is as simple as moving the cars out and opening the garage door. And then fit your room light. Before you order a wall bed or any other piece of furniture, measure to make sure that it will fit in the room. Oh, yeah, fit your room right is what I meant. Visualize the size of the bed in a deployed state and up against the wall. Is it going to fit in the space? Measure twice. Give up the idea that you have to maintain a bedroom solely for the purpose of guests. You don't have to worry about making your space accommodate someone else. That new mindset also goes for other rooms. Once, if you remove the official name of the room, like living room or dining room, if you remove the name of the room, it allows people to be more playful with their homes and support their lifestyle. This room can serve a couple of purposes. That's good. All right, it's all about lifestyle. And I pulled this out of the Costco Connection magazine, of course. Karen Haywood Queen wrote this. And very helpful. Thank you, Karen. She is an independent writer and apparently knows a lot about rooms. All right. And finally, if you did not find that helpful, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you need to listen to another podcast. Lifewire.com has given a couple of podcast suggestions. Let me see if I agree with them. The first is called Mike's Daily Podcast. Oh, I totally agree with them. What are we talking about here? No. The first is actually called not Mike's Daily Podcast, but The Daily. Yes, did The Daily steal their name from Mike's Daily Podcast? Maybe. But I guess it was more of a good idea. It was a better idea to call it The Daily than call it the New York Times Podcast. Because that's what it is, from the New York Times, or The Times. Hosted by Michael Barbaro. And it's about 20 minutes. It's also become a national radio show. They've picked up the podcast and they play it on all these NPR stations around. So, am I a big fan of this? No. Not. The thing is I did listen to it for a while, but yeah, go away, Google lady. There was, they had a deep dive into the Bill O'Reilly sexual harassment scandal. If you listen to more than 20 episodes, which I have done, you start to see a type of viewpoint that I don't think is the most open-minded and journalistic. It's all I'm saying. Not that I'm the biggest journalism expert, and I am not, but it just seems to me, in the back of my mind, I'm like, So I had enough of it. Is it a good show? It's fantastic. They do some deep dive stuff, and that's worth checking out. But sometimes I'm like, well, you're making a bigger deal about something than it is. And yeah, that's me. There's something called Code Switch. I've never checked that out. Code Switch explores race and ethnicity and how it all weaves into different parts of our lives, from places of worship to the business of selling marijuana legally to the terrible events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia in the summer of 2017. There's Pod Save America. Pod Save America is the brainchild of former staffers of President Obama's White House. Okay, well, it might have a certain slant. 2 Dope Queens. Let's see, it's these Phoebe Robinson and former Daily Show host Jessica Williams. It's a live show, podcast, and HBO limited series. Well, you know what? They don't need me plugging them if they're already on HBO. The Read. And this is where, you know what, I think I'm going to drop this whole LifeWire article right now, because this is one of the things that really upsets me about the world of podcasts, is that the stuff that's already popular remains popular, and then it pushes out everybody else. So you've got these shows, Mark Maron, Joe Rogan, you had Adam Carolla for a while. Those are the ones, they just blotted everybody out. And then there were people like me who've been podcasting and do it independently, have no company or organization behind me, trying their darndest to get people to listen, maybe, check it out, because you don't want to. I mean, I'll do this podcast if no one's listening. I will be that tree that falls in the forest. No one knows if it fell or not. I don't care. I will be that person. But a lot of the NPR stuff that gets promoted constantly by NPR, and kudos to NPR for being smart and for picking up the whole podcast mantle when they did, and they saw how big This American Life was, and they started pushing all their other shows, the politics one, the Planet Money one, and all the other things. That's great. It's just, what about the small person, the independent podcaster that doesn't have a big name behind them, like Earwolf or ESPN or all the Slate podcasts that are huge? No. It just, what I'm telling you is to dive deep. Be like The Daily and dive deep into your internet and look for podcasts that not everybody else knows. And that's what I do. I try to do on YouTube is find the YouTube channels that not everybody else is watching and trying to, get away from the mainstream. Because, that's like how I was listening to music. I loved the bands that nobody else knew. And at some point, maybe those bands get huge and everybody finds out about them, but it's cool when you find something that nobody else knows. And that's what leads to conspiracy theories, is people find these news reports, that the big news media isn't covering.
I didn't understand that.
Thank you, Google lady. Yeah, nobody else is covering. So they're like, I know something nobody else knows. Because big media is trying to tell you, and big tech is trying to force all these ideas, and big health, and big pharma, everybody else is trying to push these agendas on you. And, but I found out something nobody else knows. And I knew that band when? I knew that band back when they played at that club. Nobody knew who they were. I was the only one in the audience. Nobody knew. ZZ Top tells a story in that documentary on Netflix. It was okay. But the one great thing, they were talking about how they played in a club that nobody was there, and there was just this one guy, and he was the only one, and just to be that one guy. I don't know if you're a big fan of ZZ Top, but dang, that's cool. And I think that's what has pushed the whole conspiracy theories bigger than they've ever been in the history of the world. I think we're pretty safe to say that. It's huge right now, and that's because we're all like these people that are discovering a band nobody's known before. We're these people going to the clubs. We're these geeks that follow around. We're these roadies that follow news stories around. I found this news story nobody else knows. It's not being reported by big media. And yes, big media does fall into some grooves that they should get the heck out of. And yes, there's some, but and yes, they do that, and we all know they do that. But still, you can research and you can do enough of your own. Get stuff fact checked. Don't blindly follow stuff. You're smart. Use your brain. Hey, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth. Look who's here. Hello, Michael Marsh, it's Madame Rootabega, and I use my brain. Did you ever date Joe Rogan? Yes. Did you ever date the guy? Yes. Ira Glass? No. Okay. Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, you should wrap up the podcast right now. I think your lovely lady friend's making dinner back at your house there.
Yeah, get out of here. Do you know that? All right, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, and I gotta go.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.